I would say that you see.
Oh, paint. Okay.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Larry. Hey.
Oh, Dad.
Yes, I just needed to.
There we go.
There you are. Okay. Morning. Robin.
Morning, Rick. Hey, sweetie.
All right, it's 8:00. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. You all please rise.
Place the flag, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, Republic,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kind, rich Father in heaven, we praise that come to praise the humble heart. We're mindful, Father, of the creation of man and his weakness. We're mindful, Father, of the gift of that perfect sacrifice. We pray, Father, as we enter this meeting this morning, that we can clear our minds of other matters that they cause. That we can take on the things which affect our people of the county. Give us wisdom to act in a manner that will be pleasing to thee. Give us wisdom to make the right decision. Always. We pray for those that have chosen to protect us and serve us. In Jesus' name.
Okay, we are going to start out this morning with a special meeting for non-binding reviews. Right, the Washington County Council met on August 15th, 2023 at 8 a.m. at the Washington County Courthouse, 99 Public Square, Suite 200, Salem, Indiana. President, council members are Felix Dingle, Preston Shell, Rondell Christopher, Gerald Fleming, and Mark Abbott, and Auditor Tyra Stevenson, and Deputy Auditor Michelle. The County Council has reviewed the estimated survey breaker credits, estimated taxing district rates, and the estimated maximum levies provided by Department of Local Government Finance for all the taxing units in Washington County. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve and recommend the information provided. A motion from Preston, second from Rondell. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to close the special meeting. I have a motion on the floor to have a second from Eva. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. Meeting done. All right, and now I will start the meeting for budget hearings. Yes. All right, with that, first on the agenda, Judge Medlock. And this is on page 39 of your packet. Chris, you want to start out talking about any changes in your budget? Doesn't look like there's been any changes other than your recording equipment. It seems like you have extended those funds and
We
still have
we just got to those lines to put it back down to the maintenance. The only other change was the raises for the staff. Worked very hard. You know, also, inflation is pretty, which is diminished buying power. Other than that, I think it's consistent.
questions for Judge Medlock. Judge Medlock, do you have any updates you want to provide to us aside from that?
Probably that. I'll profile product here. As we review before the suitcase. So I'd say, as you're aware of before the suitcase, matter has got a lot of attention and then later court TV, they want to televise. They want to televise the proceeding. So
Will we need any additional security during the trial?
I don't think so. At least, I don't believe so at this particular point. There, there has been there's been a lot of interest in it, but there hasn't been any threats or concerns about security.
Well, I am personally happy to see that the folder fees have remained at the amount that they are. So, that has been,
Well, once we got them to accept concurrent cases as opposed to asking for conflict counsel, that made a significant difference.
yes, but the council, looks back through the previous budgets. At one point, we had to raise that to $375,000, and now we're back down to $100,000. That is certainly good for the taxpayers.
Once we got figure out to understand that they need to accept those cases, they had to find a way to minimize the conflict between themselves. It made a significant difference.
All right, council, any other questions for Judge Medlock?
And you're welcome to ask a question. Yes, sir.
I know that we talked about this in the past, but still are active with the books. The online version.
Yep.
I know that, I don't mean to be that subject, that's all smart words. I know the other judges.
Yeah, well, what really better than I still use my book sometimes.
That was going to be a question I was going to ask. That's how it does use books, so. But I just.
Not frequently, but yes. And while you're still going to use my books too.
I had to ask, so.
But it's okay. It's okay.
All right, any other questions from the council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, I do just have to say thank you to you and Tyler for bringing these books together and keeping them so organized. It's so helpful going through this. A good process.
We appreciate the fact that we're house set. Years and help. But like, I understand that, it's just nice to be able to go back. Seems like the budget's covered. So.
Also, for the department heads that have line item increases, I did ask that they provide justification for those line item increases due to the tight budgetary constraints. So, not just, oh, it's inflation, but actually having invoices, dollars and cents that we can see that are, causing those increases. Morning. Brian, are you ready?
Oh, yes. It's like, in.
Yeah. All right, council, up next, the defender's office, this is on page 51, 52 in your binders. Okay, Brian, you want to start out by talking through any sort of changes that you've made, and then you can share any format updates that would be helpful.
The only changes I think that we've asked for are 3% increases for the staff members. And that would be, if you guys are going to do across the board, anything with the Washington County employees in general. I was worried if I didn't put something in there, you guys did an across the board county increase that maybe my guys get skipped over. So that's in there. There is a reduction of $2,000 in longevity that we're able to put in, so we've saved a little bit there. There's an increase, unfortunately, in, I'm not going to complain about it too much, in my salary, and that's statutory. Because all the state office holders got raises, the prosecutor got a raise that's tied directly into the chief public defender's salary. So those are the only changes that we've made for the budget from 2023. We've changed a couple line items where we put general expenses and office supplies all into one line item, office supplies, and that's about it. Are there any questions you think about the request for 2024?
Council, do you have any questions for Brian on this budget?
For office supplies, but $2,000 is a reason there, or
Preston, they went through, if you look on the the items that have zero on them now,
Oh, yeah, okay,
they add up to 2,000.
okay,
So he's moving that,
okay.
moving them all to general expenses.
So,
Michelle, is there any issue with that? All right, any questions from the council?
I think it's the little exact method. Director of group, health, insurance. Can you discuss that with some of the agents? In ways that is.
We're on the same plan as the county, and our budget looks like this, it's a little different. Some of these are added on to our budget because we get 40% reimbursement. So, even though it looks like we spend that much money, we get 40% back from the state for that. So that's why that's on there separately from what you probably see on the other budgets and things like that. And I think that includes FICA and some of the other sections that are on there. So it's the same plan.
Did you raise it like 3%? Is that what?
Yeah, I think that's the percent that we thought would be appropriate based upon the increases in their grant.
All right, any other questions on this budget? All right, Ryan, and then on to, the systems navigator. As you all will recall, this is, this position and this budget is a grant. So this is providing us an update, and this is funded.
Yeah, and this is completely funded 100% this year and next. Natasha Brooks is who we hired. She started around April. She's done a really good job. We had a 10K with the mother. She was able to get some supplies for the mother. We're still waiting on the results of the hearings that we had last week. But she's done a good job. She's a former DPS worker, and she handles just those children in need of services cases and juvenile cases. What we have this afternoon is some juvenile cases. So she's been a big help. And I don't know what will happen in 2025. We'll probably that when we come to it. But yeah, fully funded 100% through the state grant. So next year. Yeah. No, I know. I've told her. I've been firm and honest with her, and she knows there was I just didn't want something to happen. Well, no, 8%. What that means. That's right. And I'm hopeful the navigator program. I don't want to make promises they can keep because there's nothing to say, but I might get one more year. I think. Maybe. But yeah. I think I'll have better luck advocating up the state for another 100% year than with 8% here. But that's right. Everyone's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there are outside funding opportunities, I guess, as well. But yeah, I think that just as a reminder for all the council members, that was the understanding of bringing on that position, is that when the reduction in funding happened, the position would no longer.
Yes, the new guys. Yeah, well, I will bring it up, but they can talk about it forward. So. Yeah, they do clean up.
Well, Ryan, do you have any other updates for us? No, I also didn't realize that your wife was a school teacher and she's taught my kiddos.
She is, yeah.
Yeah, and she's been amazing.
Yeah, oh, right.
Yeah, just compliment her. I saw your picture the other day at the open house. I was like, I did not know that this was family.
Yeah, I think she's a better teacher than I am a lawyer. She worked hard at it. She enjoyed it.
She's amazing. So, job with her.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
So,
Sure.
during the storm last week, Bill believes we got hit by lightning, like that monitor, and eliminated some of our default settings. This is what they reset, but television still a monitor still out. Same place. I think Bill had indicated he's going to check with the commission to see if there's going to make it claim against insurance, flag posts, and those things, and maybe it'll be covered with that. But if not, we still have within the budget cover to replace the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a bad day. So, couldn't do anything. And it's around. Fire alarm was ringing the whole time, so it was a miserable day.
It was a good day because no one was in.
It was a good day, so no one was in, but, yeah. When you're sitting there listening to the fire alarm, it's not much fun.
What was that, the one thing you had?
Was
that the one thing you
that was the only thing that, at least we discovered up to this point.
So you got a price on the bill?
Bill,
About $500, $500.
So we need it for the third in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll check with the other department heads too, to see if any other areas were affected. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yep.
Judge Houchin, are you ready? Okay. All right, council members, this is on page 38 in your binder.
Thanks for the invitation to talk to you about this. I'm making some significant changes. Hoping you make some significant changes in the budget. First off, I came in January and advised you that I believe I could operate on 3 fourth quarters instead of budgeting 4 for my office. I was going to try to do that over the course of the year and see how that went. That has been effective, so I'm in a position going into next year to recommend to you to make one of the decisions. So the 23 budgets for 4 quarters, my proposed 24 budget would be to eliminate one of those. So it would be a savings of $41,000, plus whatever reasons you might give, plus whatever you're looking at paying benefits for that person. So that's my recommendation for that. In addition, there had been, I don't know all the circumstances, but there have been $40,000 budgeted for equipment. I think that was a one-time, right? Anticipated maybe it's a one-time, but maybe a periodic equipment upgrade. That won't be that should not be necessary next year, so I'll propose to eliminate that from the line. And then the rest of the budget categories, 3 corporate quarters, there's a $100,000 budget for pauper attorney and witness fees. I think we've spent about 10 to 11,000 of that so far this year. I anticipate maybe another 10,000 or so. I think I'll be returning perhaps as much as 80,000 and even 80,000 out of that line. I'm proposing to keep it at 100,000 next year for a couple of reasons. One, I haven't had any trials this year because as prosecutor I came in and had a lot of conflicts that Judge Thru was handling. I anticipate I may have trials next year as my cases get old enough to start trying. So I want to make sure there's enough money in case that's the eventuality that requires proper requirements. So I'd like to leave it, although if next year I end up returning a substantial amount, then I would anticipate I'd come in and recommend that budgeted at a lower amount. So I just don't know enough now, being new to this position, how that's going to function. So I'd like to take some time and see where that's going to be. I don't want to be obligating funds that I'm not going to use, so you guys can do other things. So I'll keep an eye on that. The rest of it is, there are many, and I'm not making a criticism, but the prior budgets, there were many budget categories in my budget. So for instance, postage at $88, witness fees at $310. I proposed to collapse a lot of those categories into just 2. It's just logistically easier, simpler to keep track of. I think for the auditor's office, less time consuming for my office to shuffle between budget categories. So my proposal was to collapse the supplies and equipment into one category of 18,800 and trial expenses at 6,200. That ends up being a little bit of a cut overall. But it simplifies the budget. So, with your permission to do that, I don't find it useful to budget in that much detail. Of course, we could, if your request, if you want to know what we spent the money on, we can give you exact things, but I don't find much value in a budget that understands at $88. Basically, though, that's the rough outlines. One other thing, I think the clerk, if you haven't heard yet, will be in and discuss that I worked with her to change the way we do mail. I mentioned this back in January to you as well. We did some calculations, some tracking of that. We think she's not able to segregate out my mail through her systems, but if you look at mail from 22, from January to August 22 compared to January to August 23, there's about $3,500 savings in mail. She says I'm the only person that's changed the procedures, so she would attribute it to my office. So I'm not sending out as much certified mail as previous administration. I anticipate maybe $6,000 or $7,000 savings in her budget. That doesn't come out of my budget, it's our budget, just on how we change mail. So, with that, any questions that you have about it is? And I want to do so. I think the previous practice, and I wasn't there, but as I understand the previous practice was to send certified mail for every mail that went out. We have to send certified mail for first notices of court appearance and things like that. My practice has been after we have you notice and get your address that you told us, the rest of the mail goes out first class. It's up to the litigants to update us on their address, not that it does keep track of their address. So that change, I believe, is saved $3,500 so far.
We appreciate when you prosecute, you watch the budget real close and you're coming into the office there and doing it. We really appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Preston.
Council, any questions for Judge Hopkins?
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Justin, you might give a class on how to budget for the county. Kind of important. You did really well with this. You did, yeah, you didn't ask for increases of big salary. Let me see. 11:30. Are you all wanting to stick around? Do you want to?
No, I've got other things I've got to do.
Oh, okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I don't know, let's see what that. Will that be today?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have anybody else later until 9 o'clock.
Meats or yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh.
I told her. You know,
Oh, yeah. Get the gift card from the girl. Just want them to give. Well, Bill. Bill, I talked to Bill. I got an email from Bill. I got an email, that's why I'm thinking about texting you the other night. What he said, I just saw this. Anytime. It's funny, I didn't recognize the email address. That's not your official email address.
We need to get investigator like Debbie Strange on this.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Thank you.
You still waiting on your check?
I got myself.
It's awesome. It's what you use.
Yeah. Just use it. What it said. I saw.
Now you don't make put that in. You ain't put the donuts in that.
I have to go.
Well, I went on a sugar bin this last weekend, so I'm already broke out and itchy all over. So I'm good. Thank you, though. I do appreciate it. Are they H&R? H&R. Yeah, I mean, only the best for this kind of thing. Oh, hey, Rondell. I can't hear you. Yeah, when you were talking, I couldn't hear you. My equipment can, but I'm 60. So, okay. And, yeah. And Gerald too. Gerald, I couldn't hardly, yeah, the equipment picks it up, because it's good. And, but, yeah. Thanks though.
I don't wonder.
Did you have a face?
Let you suggest.
Hey, Phil. Phil, did you all officially opt into the new health department funding? Okay. What month was that? Was that in July? Okay. Well, I saw it on Facebook and saw that our county was covered in, and I wasn't sure when we had made that decision.
Good for the county. And my health education, be a staple. It's hard vetting right now. Yes, they do. Yeah. People could opt out.
But I was just saying, as long as we can opt out of the time, we're fine, because we can't take on the employees and all of a sudden they decide to put on employees.
You might have, when maybe comes in, or, yeah, you might ask her what her plans are. She's got, I don't know where she's at. People like that.
Well, one of our concerns with it was that we didn't want to add new staff because we didn't want to grow the footprint. Now, in terms of doing other services and programs, I think that's wonderful. It's great to offer more to the community, but we don't want to create a department that outgrows itself, right? And have to
For people getting covered on the program.
Yeah, she did ship it.
Someplace else, use it there.
Some of our existing people. Yes.
Thank you. Talk about.
Well, my concerns are that we bring these people on, and just like with Ryan Bauer, down the road, they can say, well, we're not gonna do this, but we're gonna give you 60% of their salaries. We got to come up with 60, we've got to come up with 40% or even 100% of the salary that we're not prepared to cut. Okay. As long as we've got the same concerns, we're good. Okay. Well, this is an additional.
I'm sorry.
He said, would it be last? Well, no one. But it's. 2 months. Yeah.
Basic double. There she is.
Council members, we do have prosecutor Tara Hunt here, and we'll be operating 16 and 17 in your binder. Okay, Timothy, typically after you've had any line item increases that you kind of talk through those, you've had no line item increases. But if you want to talk through your budget, I think you have a change on your pretrial prosecutor, which we can get to in a minute, but you want to start out with the prosecutor budget, move them to 4D.
Sure. The main prosecutor budget has, I've asked what you remain saying as far as last year's adopted budget. This just contains our legal secretaries, partial attorneys, deputy prosecutor, things of that nature. So I believe all that will stay the same. And be increases. The 4D is the same. I think that exact amount, again, this is our child support 4D division, which includes our legal secretary positions, as well as some, of course, their benefits and an investigator. And this, of course, is the 4D account that is gets the partial reimbursement from the state. Let's see, which one is next?
We have the free committee.
I don't take care of it. Is that the Substance Abuse Council? I mean, I can, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm the current president of that, but I know, I think, was that one scheduled this time or was that scheduled with the,
I think that was scheduled with,
Connie Benson, maybe the one that would actually have the numbers, but I don't think anything's changed on that either.
no, nothing has changed since 2017.
Okay. As far as the 40 incentive fund, that is just their incentive account, which has some money for the supplemental on the attorney pay as well as the expenses as needed. The pretrial prosecutor account, the only change that I've made there, this is our like the diversion and deferral account. Normally in the past, we've had 5,000 allotted just as a standard budget for each type of expense. They normally stay within those, although the account does, it fluctuates, but normally has more. As far as the account 31070, just for my own personal use, I'm going to rename that litigation expenses, which really is what the deposition witness fees fall into. And then I wanted to add, increase the balance of that just for my use of 15 versus 5. And the reason for that would be I foresee having additional deposition litigation expenses this coming year with the child murder case. I'm currently being pretty busy and active on that depositions the next 4 weeks. I'm hoping to be able to utilize funds that are within this diversion account without depleting it, without having to come before you guys and hopefully not have to ask for any additional money on that big case, but it's set for trial in January.
So for that line item, I'm thinking of, the year following. Do you expect that to go back to 5,000, or is that something where you anticipate it to stay at 15?
I think it's fine just to stay at 15. I don't know. Like I said, this is the version of the real account that fluctuates. I mean, it probably won't utilize that entire amount, but I think it might be simpler just to keep it that moving forward.
And Michelle, this is a reverting fund, right? So whatever is not spent out of that line item goes back to the. Okay, well, goes back.
I believe it's a pre-trial,
Oh, yeah.
first recount, so.
Okay.
Like, for example, I think it's always been budgeted for 30 and then that fluctuates to 35, 45 minutes. Things that come in from the diversions and referrals.
Do you have, crime victim assistance?
Yes, this is our victim advocate, which, it's different only because the way their grant cycle works, the 2-year grant portion is divided in half. Last year was a little less, just because that's the way the grant cycle splits it. So this year's grant provides for 38,845. This is one that we are trying to find other grant opportunities for as well, because the criminal justice institute grant that supports our victim advocates, they seem to be lessening that year. So this one works next year. This particular position is invaluable with our office with the victim support and key managers, all the victim contact, restitution, all of these that go along with our victim crime. So definitely been a great asset to the office. We're just trying to make sure we can maintain it.
And remind me, do you do CHIN's cases, or does this person work with child that needs to?
Cases are civil, the public defender's office says that you represent the parents and those that know. This person would deal with victims of property crimes, sex crimes, personal crimes of that nature, as well as if we have victims on the juvenile, so it's total criminal side.
Okay.
And last but not least is, let's see, yes, it's, again, I think their budget is roughly the same, maybe $1 off. Okay. This budget has worked well. I know, of course, there with the funding for the city as well. Our ABS hub serves multiple counties here in the Southern Indiana area. They were just audited not too long ago and had absolutely been 100% no issues. So they are utilizing all the funds as ABS unit provides, and this would be appropriate.
Hey, any questions for Tara on any of these budgets? Tara, the only thing I would ask, because we're asking this of all department heads for any line item increases, with the litigation expenses, and you have talked about the additional expenses needed for the trial that's coming up. If you have any sort of numbers you could point to, or just some sort of summary you can give us that have dollars and cents in there, I think that would be helpful. So we all kind of know, but maybe you could look back on a previous trial and say, oh, another high profile case costs this much. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. The biggest ones in the play is the expert with 500 now or so. A lot of words. We try to get those as basic as we can, but then of course you take that. But absolutely, I think that.
Okay. Yes, that would be helpful. Anything where we can see how the dollars might be broken down.
What is the best way for me to provide that to the council?
I'll probably send it to Michelle, and then Michelle will let me know once those hit the inbox. And I can notify the rest of the council. Any other questions for Terry?
Good job.
Everyone, is it?
Thank you.
Myra? All right, so this is gonna be on pages 40, 43, 44, and 45.
Okay, I know last year I kind of just ran through them and tried to have them in order. I've tried to work on that this year, so that we're kind of in order, but you'll call me on what page you have, and then I'll actually go through that way.
Okay, let's start with probation.
Okay, so this is the salaries for the probation officers coming out of the general fund. These are based on the 2024 minimum salary schedule. There's nothing deflated in them. It's just matching what they're doing for service.
Corrections?
So this is a grant funded, program, and so the grant has been written, the grant has been approved, the budget has been approved. The only thing from last year that's changed, the actual bottom line did not change, it's still the same as last year. There was no change at the top, our place that's doing our jail services program asked for a little more in their contract. So I had to increase that amount, which I then took the $2,000 that I normally had in the Meals Advisory Board, and I zeroed that out because I'm going to use user fees to replace that. And then I increased the amount in incentives by just a little bit to take it off and not to the same.
Any questions on that budget, council? All right, the next one we have is community transition program.
This is money collected as we have really transitioned people. I did increase that because I wanted to be based against the salary that's in the community corrections grant of 40,000. The state has talked about reducing our salaries, and in fact, in 2024, it is a little higher if my person has greater years of service. So that 5,000 that I raised that to will be an offset to that salary to make sure we have a person's salary.
This is the fee fund.
It is a fee fund. Yes, after the state collects, the state sends us money as we have community transition people, and so that goes in this fund. Then
Okay, and now we're on adult probation.
so this fund, the first line, the coordinator probation officer, of course, was raised again to the 2024 salary minimum. I had to increase the retirement and the FICA and the longevity to fit what the salary increase of that was. So that's why those three have been increased. I did give both of my secretaries a 5% raise in figuring their salaries in the next 2 months. Other than that, there was no change.
Any questions, council? Okay. Next, juvenile probation.
Juvenile probation had no changes. The state has come down and they're not allowing us to collect fees on informal adjustments on juveniles this time. There's also a push to not allow us to collect fees on formal probation either, but they haven't got that one passed yet. So this fund may end up being a dying fund eventually, but right now we're still running with what we have.
Here, remind me what the ending fund balance is about.
Yes. Right now it's $12,488.48. I think that's as of yesterday.
Any questions on that one, council? All right, next, home detention.
Home detention had no change.
Urine screening
That one also had no change.
and veterans court.
Okay, I have 2 veterans courts. The first one is the DOC grant. The amount from last year was $25,000. I did decrease that this year from the DOC. 5,000 coming out of incentives and 10,000 coming out for screening processing. That budget has been approved by the DOC, so it will be set at 15.
Okay, any other Veterans Court on page 47 of your binder, council?
So this is a grant, it's from the Indiana Office of Court Services grant. The amount requested has not changed from last year, and I have not heard if this grant has been.
Okay. Okay, alcohol and drug program?
The amount that I requested stayed the same as last year because the time I did budget, I was not sure if our place was gonna ask for more. So that's why I made the same as we had last year. And actually, what we had last year was higher.
All right, day reporting?
So this is a new budget for this year. Day reporting is a program that Community Corrections is running where the people in it are paying user fees. So the meals for the advisory board that I normally would have taken out of the grant, I'm going to use user fees for. So that 2,000 was pulled from the grant, and that's why the budget 2,000 was fixed for that one, for the meals for the advisory.
All right, any questions for Myra?
Which is
Pardon?
quarterly ratings.
Supposed to be quarterly, I think this year we're gonna end up with 5, just because of the opioid settlement forms and getting all that up.
That's
Okay, good, interesting.
Myra, do you have any other department updates that you'd like to share?
So at this time, I have no openings. Yay! I hired my last employee. She started first of July, so we all ran for a while with all my employees and not having no employees. It's difficult time.
That's great to hear. All right, any other questions, council? All right, thank you for your time.
Good job.
Jimmy, do you have something that you want to present to the council?
I'm meeting somebody here that would like,
Oh, okay.
it'll only take a minute of your time. No big period.
Okay, thank you.
That one. Remember. What you're back, going on. With. Ready, feel all right? Good. It's pretty rusty. He was saying like about 2 weeks ago. He forgot. I said, good mom, I see that. Yeah, it probably didn't break your hands for a while. Yeah. I'm getting good at mowing yards, so.
Don't be cheeseburger on my way. I'm looking for, well, you look small, but. I just, right. Three, four. Okay. Great. Okay.
Well, I think Michelle called him. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Michelle might have like. That's excellent. Maybe the one letter since we go the last day. Yeah.
I don't know. They ain't working for me. They on the ball. Ball's over.
Yeah. The county, you guys get wiped out.
We're so fine. We got all that race, yeah.
You know, he's doing.
No, make it.
Jump right up top. All right.
Pretty good. We can stop.
Yeah, even though I'm here, I'm okay.
Hey, Zach, how are you doing? All right, Doc? Up right? Up right. Good deal. That's the official switch day. But ask me, yeah. Yeah. Sure. I'm not good.
I want to be. Yeah, there's a few cards and what they can do.
What's your band gonna do?
They're just, they're sticking them with the ball. Little sort of light demo vision.
And then, there are many keepers right now. That's all I have.
TBS.
So. I don't know, that's part of the, here about 10 years, it's on I know it's here, name. So, yeah. So, there's, Raiders, yeah, she's going to it.
Well, that'd be cheaper, it would be a monopoly,
I'm curious to see.
forced into one.
Yep.
Government.
Well, that's a. Man, they get dead or something. Could I tell you what? Yeah. Buy down some. Buy some. They'll try to be done with. But we'll see. What's the.
Big government healthcare. You see it. What did they ever come? No, sometimes they did. I watched all the Hannity and still waiting. Sometimes. Well, they said it started. Yeah. And the phone came.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes 40 going across the scale.
I'm braced each.
Segments have some dollars.
It's a joke.
They said that,
Oh, no.
he was making something. Yeah, but just coincidence.
Perfect size box.
Imagine money's being spent on this. It is what it is.
Yep. Very well.
Oh. Step has to go.
Oh, okay.
We're lucky it's not.
Hybrid.
Oh, it's budget. Yeah.
Got the pass it. Soon?
2 weeks. I had to go yesterday.
Getting another 2 weeks, huh?
I said, she started walking over. She said, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I said, "I sure do." She said, 2 more weeks.
2 weeks worth of experience.
I said, "There's muscles there too that you use."
Yeah.
She said, "It's taking some time."
Council, we do have the sheriff coming in at 9:30. However, there is a little bit of a break in time right now where we could entertain Jimmy and his guests to come up and speak.
So,
Thank everybody. Everyone knows who I am.
And this is Sarah Walker, he's with what we refer to as sign gangs, it's a name and both parties. I'll let her do most of the talking, but my agency relies on their agency quite a bit. Not everybody is lucky. Is the one sitting in this room when it comes to if we become incapacitated, most of us have some family that's gonna help, that somebody needs to step up and start it, that make financial and healthcare decisions for somebody. Most of us have that. There's a lot of people that I run across that don't have that. And in the case that we have to rely on our guardianship program, because they're located in Midland Solutions, there's no Carpenter bus building, office building, they're located there, but they service all the counties that I service.
Yeah.
This is Sarah.
Hello. And I presented to you a few weeks ago with several commissioners here. So I won't give you my whole spiel. And at the time I brought a packet of lots of stats and just everything that we do, full of information over the last year through Washington provided. But basically, for those who weren't here, we're a guardianship agency. We're a vaccine program, so we're quality CASA for children, but we serve over 18. So if you over 18, willing to or able to be able to step in, then we step in and we assist. And we also assist family members. So if there's someone who would like to be guardian of multiple disabilities, we can guide them through that process and help them go through the court system and be that person's advocate. So that's the service that we provide. And I would say even more so than us stepping in and physically becoming the guardian over that individual. But we definitely serve to meet the needs of APS when there's gaps there, and also nursing facilities, hospitals, the police station. We help all those. So we had come a couple weeks ago asking for. We were allotted from Orange County, another county that we serve, $5,000 for the year to provide our assistance. And I compared the population size of Orange County and Washington County, which actually Washington County has about 6,000 more residents living here. So the population is greater. So we asked for 5,000 of the county here, and we're back today to ask for that. We've been in Washington County for 5 years, and we have academy funding from the county. So we would greatly appreciate it. It would help us get out here more, just fill in the gaps where it's needed, and support our staff. We only have 3 staff people, which is a great number. It's the same as APS actually. We serve an additional county, Boy Scout, which is pretty huge, and we're finding a great need there. So just asking for a little assistance so we can fill it and be that support. That's it.
And I think that they have a spot on the agenda for next month thing. However, Sarah probably will not be here. Yeah, she's gonna be going anything. So it'll be the topic that's speaking. We just wanted to, with the time that's going on right now, give everybody heads up what they do, is a brief overview. And they are somebody that we rely on.
Thank you. I've heard really good things about the organization, and I think for us as the council, we have to think about if there's any new additional, which we're in a very tight budget season right now. But any new additional investments within outside organizations, we really have to look at what's the best structure for that. With this organization, it would make the most sense to either from an adult protective services grant, if you're able to write that to them, or from the commissioner's budget. We do have other organizations like Blue River Services and Life Springs that are funded on the commissioner's budget, which would be proposed by the commissioners to the council. So that's in terms of how would this make sense, or would there be a request that could be approved by the council? That's how it makes most sense in my mind. Council members, I'm open to your thoughts to see what you think as well, and the commissioners. you've had an opportunity to hear them several times. And
When we first heard about it, it's like everything else, people come to us for more money. But after talking to them, I don't think sometimes we realize how we split our community and our people into this seat. And it's probably, it's one of those beneficial programs that I know of in Southern Indiana. And Orange County, I think they're pretty active over there. 5 counties.
We cover custom.
5 counties. And we're probably about the only one right now not contributing to it. And like Daryl and me, we're getting older.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's something we do need to be looking at. It's kind of slipped up. It's kind of slipped up on us to where it's something we need to take an active part in.
I'll say one more thing, we have an aging population in really all southern Indiana, but, we're a generation, so there's people with, diseases and ailments, and we have a lady, our oldest lady on our case, she's 102 years old, so she just simply outlived her family. So we've, been her advocate when her only son passed away in his 80s. He was an older gentleman too, so I think that as we see the population age, the need is there. He has the same too, as our population. So that's.
And we have to, not just, a generation that's living in. We run across people that are maybe as a guardian are taking advantage of whoever is guardian. And therefore sometimes we have to try to intervene. And the only resource we have is guardian program. If we have
I'm a nationally certified guardian, so that's another thing that I bring to the county is we constantly stay up to date on educating ourselves on guardianship matters. So we make sure to have the best practices and ethics out there, and we pride ourselves on that. So you can be assured that we will do the best, absolute best job of those cases that we oversee.
That's a good program. Sounds like a good program, so we'll definitely consider it.
So is this something that's been worked into your budget about collection services or something commissioners put in?
Now, here, was first in line, our budget is pretty well set right now. We've not, there's nothing extra there right this minute to do that. I can talk to the mine director in the future and maybe look at that, but, our budget is strictly based on what the state provides to us. And so sometimes it's difficult to do an additional appropriation from the state.
Sarah, can you talk to us about how many people you have in your organization and how much funding you have currently?
Sure, absolutely. So we currently caseload wise, we have 44 clients that we serve. We have 18 active volunteers who help serve the need where we can. So we always say they do kind of a fun job. They step in and they provide some companionship for, because that's part of the way the grant is modeled, is volunteer advocates for senior incapacitated adults. So we are volunteer based. So we manage those volunteers as well as the clients. So really around the 60s. So we also serve, like I said, Des Moines, Orange, Washington, Crawford, and Orange counties. And we get funding from Lawrence. That's actually our matching fund. So we apply for the grant every year. The most you can get is $75,000 through the state of Indiana, so that comes through the Supreme Court. We are a pilot program, actually. We were one of 2 pilot programs, so we're the start of that season. So since we started in 2010, there have been many, many more. So we went from 2 programs in 2010 that started to now there's 20 programs throughout the state. And it really kind of spanned throughout the state, how every county's covered. We hope to get there, eventually that's really the big goal is that every county is covered by that state program. But we get that 75,000 that we applied for, so we were allotted that last year again after this is our 13th year in service. And we get matching up from Lawrence County, and there's about 18,000 from them. That's so that we can actually apply for the grant. We have to have a certain percentage of matching funds in order to apply. So Orange County initially supported us, and they continue to be our primary county, and have given us funding to be able to apply for the grant. And then Orange County stepped in last year and gave us 5,000, and then they committed to get to another 5,000 for us this year. And Lewis County also 10,000 last year. We're doing their county 3 years in their county, and they committed once again to 10,000 for next year. So we are lacking support in Crawford and
Thank you.
we have 44 current under guardianship, and I will say we spend so many hours on helping family and assisting. So I mean that number is it's set with 44 clients, but we help families immensely, and that's half of what we do. Is we help when there's someone who's available to be a guardian, they would love to be, they just don't know where to go, how to start. The legal system is really daunting for a lot of people, so we kind of make it easier for them. And we would say we're not attorneys, but we can guide you as much as possible. And we have an understanding with every judge that any time we serve that we can provide that assistance as much as possible without needing legal advice.
That's out of this county? Or
Yes.
That's for our county?
Exactly, yeah, Jessica Cushing is a great supporter of our program. He actually came, some of you saw him came last summer, presented and supported us, so he's been a great advocate.
Yeah, I would think if any of you have questions about how the program's working in Washington County specifically and affecting the court system, Dustin is a great call.
Yeah, he called me a couple of weeks ago and said that he felt like they might be able to use some of the opioid settlement funding for this program, but what you're needing, you need the 5,000 for matching funds, right?
Well, we don't necessarily need it. We're just asking for that additional support. We did have to hire another person because of the just the need that we've had. He's another case manager, so we're really asking for the funding so that we can help support our staff and be in the county as much as we need to be. We don't want to do anything half-heartedly. We want to serve to the utmost that we can. That requires certain staff people.
So you apply for this grant, and it will be a couple of months before you are able to know funding or
Yes.
you know what the deadline is. Maybe we'll announce that.
So we applied for the grant and about the end of October, early November, and then we usually find out in January if we don't know. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, you have any questions for Sarah and June?
It's just interesting to me because I'm kind of associated with a situation sort of like that. Got it.
You could leave the card.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
And they,
I think collectively we'll have to talk about, we are providing funding, how that looks. My instinct says that it's probably best to come from, if it's the opioid settlement, that would be great. Otherwise it would come from the commissioner's budget.
thank you.
It was good to see a program like that you could understand it more and more, and the worth that or the value that comes out of such a small amount of money that we can contribute. Sounds good.
Yeah, and then our CASA has made a really big difference. We realize so many community volunteers, and it's a way that people can give back.
Yes.
And this is model very similar.
It's a good model.
And it's amended.
Yeah, that's the vehicle.
We changed it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Andy, would you like to go ahead and come forward? Are you ready? Well, rather than having to wing it, let's have somebody get you a copy of your budget. Because we've had that happen before, and I don't want to repeat that. Michelle, do you have a copy of the Veterans Affairs budget that you did provide me? Veterans Affairs. Okay.
Donuts right there. Oh, you want to get one to come up here? I tell them that.
They're very good.
That depends on what you say.
Okay, so, Andy, how we typically do this, we have, if you have any line item increases, please direct our attention towards those and explain them. Also give us any sort of department updates, and then the council can ask a question. I will go ahead and tell you in advance, any line item increases whatsoever are, we are asking that we have documentation for that. So dollars and cents, not just an arrow that says rising costs of inflation, like we need to see where that number is coming from. So with that, the budget, go ahead and follow through.
I guess going line by line, going from the 23 budget of the 20,000 for the Ricky, is this 5,000 or 5% increase? That's also living. That's kind of the first three lines are just stuff going on. I didn't change the maintenance supply line and the tech facility here, so kind of like that. The mileage for the drivers, the big one is 30100 account. That's our biggest part of our budget is to take care of the drivers. Right now I have 4 drivers. We're taking somewhere between 12 to 1,300 runs on board. Take that into appointments. Mostly about the Louisville, but a lot of the South Florida involved as well. We're super busy right now. We're averaging right now 4 to 6 runs a day, 4 to 6 veterans a day. Go to different appointments. We always try never to turn anybody down. But anyway, continuing education has been fun, it's been the same. So I didn't see any reason to up that. I didn't even increase the board of the connection line. That's flags. We provide flags to all the graves and then flags around the county, county buildings and stuff. Eventually that will have to grade, probably next, probably 2025 maybe. Something simple as like the little grade flags went up a nickel. Well, nickel is semi-much. So when you buy 8,000, that's 8,000 nickels. So I did really good as far as in 22, at the end of the year when I started, was able to get ahead of the budget, ahead of the flags. So that budget didn't have to raise any. The new line item is just the need for a vehicle, a reliable vehicle. That's the big increase in the budget from previous years. There's a massive for a vehicle, and it's going to be less than that. That was just an estimate. I've got 2 estimates in the office right now. That's one of the commissioners to get estimates from getting those reps in. John Jones, got program within
To us,
certain,
do you get what?
yes, sir. Yeah, they're within this couple of, but they both have government, deals. So for the Ford and the Chevrolet, they have government programs that we would qualify for. And, both of them, coming in at 29, right at 30,000. There were 29 and 6, and like 29 or something like that. Really all pretty close together, as far as that goes. So definitely less than that, cost right there. That was the number looking at the price of vehicles, but like I said, these companies, once I got talking to the two companies, they have government deals that would be qualified.
What's the current vehicle situation right now?
Current situation is a 2008 Ford Explorer with 240,000 miles. The AC doesn't work, the heat didn't work real good this winter, got a traction control issue, and it's got braking issues. And that all comes out of my budget. And I think we need to be putting in more county money in that vehicle. That vehicle is not very reliable.
And so different drivers drive this specific.
No, no, no.
What
This is-
what is this used for?
Okay, this is the vehicle for, county vehicle for myself, be able to go to meetings, go to veterans homes, go to the nursing home. I ran, several veterans to appointments where my other drivers were either busy or like back last winter, had a veteran have to have dialysis 3 days a week. And that particular day, when it's at 30 below zero, the normal driver couldn't drive, and I couldn't let this veteran not have him drive. So, so we made it happen. This vehicle is, not very reliable. It's got an issue with it. I know it go down to like 35 miles an hour. It won't speed up. So it goes through this cycle. It's dangerous. It's getting more dangerous. So, like I said, that's my biggest, want, need, is to be able to have some reliable transportation to make sure we get folks to their appointments or, if I have to go out, as my folks are out of service, are starting to get older and older. I'm getting more requests that want to keep it out of home, to file for stuff. So I want them to have that opportunity to be able to go to people's homes and to the nursing home and stuff like that. Just because, like I said, typically the folks that we take care of are not getting anything, and, I've just got situations where that would be very nice, to not have to worry about a vehicle situation, as far as breaking down the road.
Are there any other vehicles?
What's your other vehicle? We've got one, you keep out the sheriff's department.
That's a DAV, vehicle.
Yeah.
The only thing we do with that vehicle is we give the driver a stipend for driving. That vehicle does not cost the county, it never has cost the county. That is government, that's a government vehicle, federal government vehicle. You don't pay for the fuel, the upkeep, crossing the bridge, anything. That is all DAV paid. Since we're on that subject, I've got really good news. The vehicle, we're getting a second DAV. Okay. We originally were told we were going to have to pay for half of that vehicle. Well, the half that we were supposed to pay for, the state of Indiana paid. So we are getting that vehicle that I told you all about back in January. It is ready, it's wrapped, it's waiting on the credit card and the transponder. And Gene is going to have to take on the physical when they're going to give that vehicle. And so that is a huge, that's a $40,000 vehicle, it's a Ford Explorer, brand new. And when we get it, it'll be next month when we physically get it. And what I'm going to do is, have the paper come out, take a picture of it, so have both vehicles. Obviously, got the sheriff is walking, going to talk to the sheriff about parking the second vehicle out there. And we have to have the agreement, parking agreement, DAV. Yes, this community is now getting ready to get the second completely paid for free vehicles. That's huge.
So both of those are used for transport of veterans to appointments.
Yeah, yeah, they're solely for that. I don't, like, I manage that program, I don't run it. I'm not authorized to drive in DAV.
Now, the drivers that drive the DAV vehicles, are their stipends less than the mileage rate that you pay somebody?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
if you could, like I talked about earlier, some of the documentation of the increases. So for the mileage and lodging, especially if we have like a second DAV vehicle, if you could write down like how much do you expect to give in a second for the first vehicle, the second vehicle, and what does that need remainder? You know, what is the true need there for the mileage and lodging? That'd be helpful.
Currently, the maintenance is coming out, is that coming out of the equipment 40109 line? You said you had to pay for anything that you have maintenance for fifth.
Oh,
Is that coming out of that line item?
I think whatever I was this year, it was out of, I think it was out of line item 30100. The mileage, lodging,
Mileage and lodging.
I think it came out of that fund.
Also, this is somewhat unrelated, but we do have the entire county to think about. Is the second chase vehicle being used often in the ambulance service? And I know Brent has some vehicles that are, to what shape they're in, but I'm just wanting to do like a county assessment of what our vehicle situation looks like, and if any of them could be repurposed.
On it. Right now, I think everything's pretty well statewide. On it. Right.
Well, I'm saying, Andy's asked for a new vehicle for veteran services. I'm asking for ambulance services, that second chase vehicle being used. How often is it being used? Secondly, okay. And secondly, about if they're, available at the sheriff's department.
Right now, bull chasing is being used all, I think what we said, and was. Box,
What's that?
how many boxes? We got it.
Yeah. And then Briggs, what vehicles do you have at the sheriff's department that aren't being used?
Well, I don't necessarily have any vehicles that aren't being used, other than a couple that are sitting out front that have been taken offline to be gotten rid of. We've had other sheriff's departments offering to buy some of our vehicles that we're getting rid of. We utilize our vehicles until the end of their life. It's where they use up such a maintenance that we have to get rid of them. So I really don't have anything that we can pass on. We've still got some 2011 vehicles in our fleet of, I hope to have them on by the end of the summer.
We probably would want to install another department by looking at format vehicle, giving them headaches. So be pretty well considered. How's your budget on fuel, on gas? This year, with prices going up, are you setting pretty good?
Yeah, because I've been using the vehicle very much because it's not very reliable. Like the other day, I use my vehicle to take somebody to the point.
No, I'm talking about your gas. In your budget last year, for gasoline for running cars, are you setting pretty good?
Yeah. Yeah, because I said we don't do that much.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the council?
I just want to give you here a few weeks ago when they were in front of this county, but if you're hard time, this will help them, and they called around. So that's not the first time this has happened. Personally, that somebody's calling me because they there's office. So thank you for keeping up the good work.
Thank you. We don't turn anybody away, because like Scott works for both Scott County, everyone would take walking one day a week or whatever. So like I said, we don't turn anybody away. Obviously, we're here to take care of our county residents. So, but yeah, I got Jackson County people coming over. I got South County people coming. Right now, Harrison County, that yes, over there at the time. Yeah, so we're getting some Harrison County business right now. like I said, well, I showed mentioned earlier this year, the amount of money this office brings in for the veterans compensation. In 2021, it was like over $7 million every year. The GDX for almost 2 years behind. 22 numbers are out now. We're already up on the 23, so it's probably behind. But I showed the commissioners 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. It goes from like 5 million, 6 million, 6.5. It's over $8 million. The amount of money that brought in this community. That's county, our county residents. That really helped us whenever we help Harrison County or Scott County. But like I said, we're not turning anybody. Because I do have, myself and Ricky, we got coverage 5 days a week in office. Regard also, every now and then I have to shut the office down and go through them for, it's a PA meeting of some sort or my training stuff. But yeah, it's good to hear that. Because people, a lot of times, I tell them, or they'll ask me something, I'm like, you want to help me out? Talk to these folks or these folks over here. We want some huge claims. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And you'll get the documentation of the mileage and lodging to Michelle, she'll let us know. Thank you. That instrument would also be. Thank you. All right, Brett, are you ready? Council, this is on page 6, 7, and 8 of your budget.
Apologize for not getting those to you before today. The notes there do not reflect each and every line item in the budget, but pretty much most of the line items in the budget are a little bit of an explanation.
Look at Mike, please.
There you go. So probably the biggest part of the budget, is the salaries. Sheriff's Department, that's the biggest increase, always has been. In the past, I've always asked for across the board raises for everybody there in the department. This year, I did things differently. Probably noticed that because people made some comments about it. And there isn't a blanket raise across the board for employees this year. It's different amounts. And what that was based off of was a salary study that was done by the Indiana Sheriff's Association. They do these salary studies every year. They send them out to the 92 sheriffs. Some of the sheriffs are good enough to fill them out and send them back. Some are not. Washington County ranks 57th in the state of Indiana population-wise. I took 8 counties above Washington County, 8 counties below Washington County. Took the numbers that was there, put together, came up with the average salary for deputies, jailers, the jail commander, and tried to do that for dispatchers, but was not enough information there to really get that for the dispatchers. I found that in the salary study that out of those counties that the jail officers have gotten kind of out of shape here with their salaries, and are probably the biggest employee. And I know in the past, we've given raises out, like in 2021, you guys gave a pretty good raise to deputies, which helped get them up from the bottom of the list where they were at. And at one time, the jailers and the dispatchers wasn't too bad. And then you guys One year he gave more of a raise to dispatchers and the jailers than he did to deputies, kind of help those out. And so those things fluctuate across the state, and the average, if you look at the first page, there's a page on there that has 2021 American Community Survey on there, and that's where the population numbers come from. And the other information on there is what's compiled by the Sheriff's Association. But probably the employees out there that are most underpaid right now at this point on the average is our jail staff. Our jail staff currently makes $37,400 is their base pay. The average jailer across the state of Indiana with a population similar to Washington County is 42,629, which puts our deputies below average $5,229 below the average corrections officer across the state. It's really not a surprise. You can talk to the auditor's office and they can tell you that we have a huge turnover rate at the jail. There's a turnover rate with dispatchers. There's a turnover rate with officers. Our current list of jailers that we have there at the jail, I put you a list there, also in their list of our jailers. I've listed the jailers and how long they've been there at the Sheriff's Department as of June the 1st. There's only a handful of employees there that's even been there 2 years or longer. The majority, I think I've got 8 jailers up there that have been there less than a year. So we've got a very young staff. I used to think at one point that it was maybe me or my department that just couldn't keep jailers there at the jail. But when I go to the sheriff's offices, they have a coffee talk where the sheriffs get together and they get to talk about their department and their county. And every sheriff there will tell you that there's a huge turnover in jail staff. It's widespread across the state. According to that salary survey, the dispatchers I think I told you, might have been a dispatch supervisor, that I was not able to get that, but on the dispatcher, we did get the average salary for a dispatcher, across the state with counties like our size is $40,038. Again, our dispatchers are paid $37,400 is their base pay. That puts them $2,638 below the average. And probably the biggest point that I want to really talk to about this year is the supervisor pay. I know I'm sounding like a broken record because I've talked about it before in the past. I'm going to talk about it again today because I really believe the dispatchers or the supervisors at the department should make more than their subordinates. And there are times when the people that they supervise with overtime makes more money than their supervisors. And because we are having such a turnover there at the department, your supervisors are having to act like floaters and cover shifts when there are shortages in the jail or shortages in the dispatch center. And the supervisors are on call 24/7. They take numerous phone calls, especially my jail commander. If you look at that far right column where it compares the jail commander salaries with other jail commanders across the state, that is probably the biggest shortfall. The average jail commander for a county our size makes $51,200. Our jail commander currently makes $38,787. That's a $12,260 below average salary for the jail commander. He supervises 17 employees. We are currently running about 147 inmates in the jail. We've got a capacity up to 254 there at the jail. Last year, we ran around 150 to 160 average. If you flip back to your notes there too, there's also a graph on there that has the average inmate monthly population for the past year. You can see that back in January, actually in April, we hit an all-time low. We averaged 104 inmates in the jail. But today, for the month of August, we are averaging 147 inmates in the jail. I do expect that number to continue to go up as we have started serving more restaurants now that COVID is no longer an issue at the jail. We kind of were holding back on certain warrants for a while as a result of that. So I do expect that inmate population to go up. So again, not to sit here and and talk about the salaries all day, I would really like to just drive that point that I want you to, instead of giving those supervisors a raise more than just across the board raise. I understand we typically like to think that it's fair to give across the board raises, and it would be the case if everybody's already making a fair wage. But when the supervisors are not separated out above their employees, as for example, here, if you take again, you look at the current salary for the jail administrator is $38,787. The people that he supervises makes $37,400. That's not much separation for a person that comes in there every day, works 8 hours, goes home, does not have to answer the phone or anything. Again, I said the jail commander gets phone calls every single day.
And that's one position, right? That's one position.
Correct. There's another position in the jail that is a supervisory position as well, and that's the transport officer. It's / lieutenant, but that's the second in command in the jail. And of course, I've not asked for his salary to be put with the jail commander's salary, but I do think as well as a supervisor, he should be considered to be making a little more money than he supervises as well, because when we do have shortfalls in the jail, the jail lieutenant is the one that comes in, helps cover those shifts and things, so he acts like a floater, and that's something that we have to have there at the sheriff's department as floaters, and that's something that probably in next year's budget we'll start talking about trying to compensate to float. It's hard to find anybody that wants to float or even has the schedule to be able to be a floater to cover those things, but it has been a very huge struggle just to keep 3 people in my jail. The rule is a minimum of 3 jailers at any time in the jail. When somebody calls off sick, we only have 4 on the schedule. And when one person calls off sick, now I'm already down to the minimum that we can have in the house in jail. If an inmate has to go to the hospital or something goes on, we have to take one out of the jail, then I'm sure we have to call somebody to come in and cover. And I know there's been some questions about the overtime during the budget as well. And there are a lot of things going on that are causing increased overtime. And part of that is just what I talked about, the things in the jail. There was a time period in October of last year when it's in a 13-day period of time, we had 9 inmates go to the hospital. Some of those inmates come back from the hospital the same day they're there. Some of them do not. Some of them are hospitalized. Then I had to pay somebody at the hospital for those inmates as well, which again makes us short-staffed at the jail. And being that St. Vincent is related to hospitals out of Indianapolis, when they want to refer somebody somewhere, they typically like to refer them to Indianapolis, which I can't do that. I don't have the staffing to be able to go to Indianapolis and settle on prisoners, and so it becomes a huge issue again trying to cover this. Probation is affecting our overtime. We have a hard time finding any facilities even near Washington County, Indiana now to house juveniles, and most of the juveniles that get housed are going to Vincennes, Indiana. And that's a long haul to go to and from Vincennes with juveniles that we're responsible for transporting. Again, if I have enough people in the jail, sometimes I will pull a jailer out of the jail to make that transport, but if not, we have to call somebody in to make those transports.
So for the interest of time, I just want to say I'm thankful that you've provided this.
Yes.
Something that we have talked about to every department head of they've had line item to provide actual documentation. And so even just looking through it for a few minutes, you can tell that you went through and you were very thorough, and it's very much appreciated, especially seeing the numbers of where you're asking for things and where we can see the dollars and cents. So it's not just a narrative of cost of inflation. So thank you for all of that. I think what we can do, what might be helpful moving forward. So we know you have some salary requests and the constraints that you have in your department. If we could go through those specific budgets at like each proposed budget at a time, that might be less helpful. So it sounded like from looking at your numbers for the county sheriff budget, the chief deputy is something that seems like that's the most important increase that you're talking about for this specific budget. Or which one?
The jail commander is my most important line item in my budget for salary that needs to be corrected. You know, we truly need to make an effort to fix that.
On the list of priorities, that's number one.
That's number one, my jail commander.
Okay, all right. From there, so that is now on to anything else with sheriff? Anything else with the sheriff budget? Okay. Council, do you have any questions on the sheriff budget? On page 6? Okay, so now, for the detention center. Any questions on this? Yes.
The jail administrator, the jail commander, but that's on the detention.
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's correct.
Okay, anything on this budget that you want to draw our attention to, Brent? Aside from the jail commander salary increase?
The head dispatcher is also a supervisor position that I've asked to have a buffer between that position and the people that need the head dispatcher. The head dispatcher would also be a priority of mine that I would like for you to consider.
All right. Let's move on to public safety.
You know, again, I've been sitting here talking about, I've already been up there to the overtime. And I know that, yes, it has increased a lot, over the years. And the overtime is something that, is very difficult for me to, get a handle on. And like any other agency, again, when we talk about things, you know, like we've said in the past, the sheriff's department is a different animal. We're different than the highway department, we're different than the ambulance department, we're different than anybody in the courthouse or the government building. But we respond to things or we react to things when they happen that we often have no control over. You know, we can't predict when accidents are gonna happen, we can't predict when a fatality is gonna happen, we have to shut the highway down for 4 hours, you know, we can't predict when natural disasters are gonna happen, things like that. So it's very difficult, especially with the inmate issues in the jail and stuff too. You know, we're paying out quite a bit of overtime back in the jail to be able to handle the inmate health issues. And so it's basically about an educated guess to try to come up with a dollar amount on the overtime, vacation, and comp and holiday pay. Sometimes we're close on that, sometimes we're not even close. It just depends on things that happen that we often have no control over.
Do you have, budget ending fund balances right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the ending fund balance for right now, for that line item?
Yes. I will say as of July the 1st, brought that report with me. And the expenditures are 100,634, unexpended balance is 98,365.60.
Will you repeat those numbers?
Again, the expenditure is 100,634.40. And that was as of July the 1st, so it's about halfway through the year. The unexpended balance is 98,365.60. And so, yes, you can see that we're just a little bit over half of that. I do know that there is going to be quite a bit of money left over in line items from the salaries and things like that. They can be moved over to help compensate that, because we've had shortages on staffing there. That the money is there that didn't get paid out. The staff is paid. So I know that, you know, in the event unexpected, we would probably be a little short at the end of the year, but I know that we've got some money that we'll be able to move around to help offset that. If we have that.
Okay, I see also increase for meals for inmates.
Yes. The expenditure, July 1st was 96,968.44. The unexpended balance is 103,262. So we're a little bit below half of the year. And again, that's the overtime is the most difficult thing for me to plan, and probably the meals for the inmate is the second most difficult line item in my budget, trying to figure that out. Because again, we don't know how many inmates you're going to have. Looking at the numbers and things, we should be fine on the food at the end of the year. It looks like if things continue and the prices don't decide to go through the roof again, we should be okay on the meals for the inmates. When you go down to the budget there, there's a lot of line items in that part of the budget that stayed the same. I did not increase them. A couple of them we even shaved off a little bit of money off of a couple of them. There was one IDAC repair contract. I requested to move money from there, $5,000 to the warranty security contract. Because the warranty security contract continues to go up substantially every year. And there are quite a few things in that line item that gets paid out. And one of those is Caliber, which is our primary software that we use at the sheriff's department. And that alone, the maintenance agreement on that, is roughly, they sent us an estimate for, I believe, $35,000, $531 for the year 2024. Then we've got other contracts with iTouch, which is the fingerprint machine that we use, send the fingerprints to the state. BIS, which is the company that has our recording system in our interview rooms. ECS, which is the company that contracts with us to work on our radios, just for example. Like the garage and motor, I left that the same as it has been for the last 4 years. Right now, we've spent just a little under half that money for the year. I think we'll be fine on that. The uniform and clothing, that shows, as of July 1, $612 left in that budget. I'm confident that that money is gone and will be. We have left that the same in the budget as it has been for the last 3 years. There's never enough money in there to cover the uniforms and things. Once we reach a zero balance on it, we start paying for that commissary. And that's something that will come back next month and talk to you about a resolution to help maybe offset some of these costs by paying for things out of commissary rather than increasing our budget to pay for some of these things. So I know the uniform and clothing, just like the shirt I have on now, it used to be a $35 shirt. Now I just ordered some this week and they're $60-something. So when you have 54 employees out there in the jail, it takes quite a bit to uniform people, especially when you go through deputies. Sometimes you can reuse some of the things. In fact, we stopped putting names on clothing that we buy for people. So when they leave, if it's still good enough clothing, we can pass it on to the next employee that we hire. So we're trying to do the best we can to save money. The cleaning supplies, we actually cut that back $1,500, and right now we're quite a bit below half for the year that we've spent. The photo finish, we left it the same. Fire and tubes, we left that the same as it's been for the last 2 years. We are a little over halfway through that money for the year. Equipment miscellaneous for cars is probably the big one, or one of the bigger ones in this budget. We did increase that by $500. And part of the reason for increasing that is in our police cars. Right now, the most recent quote we got on a police car from John Jones was $44,000 and some change. It cost right at $10,000 to equip a brand new police car. We try to take equipment out of the old cars when we take them out of service, put it into the new cars when we can. However, the 800 radios that were in our police cars are at the end of their life. We can't reprogram those or update those any further than they are. We have replaced currently 800 radios in our police cars. Those are running right at,
I think you're at about $3,000.
yeah, they're right at $3,000 a piece to replace those. We're trying to replace 4 a year to get through our cycle. Kind of the same way with farther down in the budget, the police radio there, we asked for an increase in that line item by $5,000 to help purchase some of these radios. Because it's a little bit confusing sometimes when you see equipment miscellaneous for cars, those are several things that we spend that money on. For example, we're getting ready to replace a car that was recently totaled out, and we'll buy a radar system for that new car and things which will come out of that equipment miscellaneous for cars and radar system for a car is about $3,500. Anything you put in these cars is a little on the expensive side. So again, even though there is that line item there that says equipment miscellaneous for cars, that's not going to come close to even cover the equipment that we put in the car in a year's time. And once we zero that out, I start paying for the equipment for these cars out of my commissary. Rather than ask for additional money or move money around, I will pay that out of my commissary to help with that.
Okay, that's helpful. You also did put, council in your packet, there are invoices or closed estimates for the radios and the other increases.
There is. This computer bill helped me compile a list. There's also a list in there of computers. We have roughly 50 computers. There at the sheriff's department and the jail, the administrative offices, dispatch center, and there are 16 tough notebooks in the police cars, which allow the officers to be able to have computer-aided assistance when they respond to calls. There's mapping in there. They can respond to emails and things in their car. They can work crash reports and stuff with those computers. And there's also a quote in there for replacing those notebooks. I want to say they're about $2,000 a piece to replace those notebooks. And that's another reason why we've added that line I mentioned this last year, that $20,000 for equipment. We just left it the same. Whereas again, the desktop PCs, there's a list of them and it talks about how old these are and how often that we're having to rotate the computers out. $20,000 a year is probably not going to cover the number of notebooks that we're replacing. Again, I think we've replaced, I've got the notes in here. It's either 4 or 6 of those that we're trying to do the same thing with the tough notebooks in cars. You can imagine a laptop computer in a car that gets well over 100 degrees in the summertime and below freezing in wintertime. It's rather hard on them computers riding around in there. They are tough notebooks and that kind of stuff, but every couple of years those have to be replaced. And so we are going to do the cars replaced, and we can't replace them all at once, but we're trying to replace 4 a year on those computers and things too, whatever the money will allow. And if something happens and something goes down, we have to replace it. We run out of money again, and we can revert to that commissary fund to help offset these things.
I think that's pretty much all, those are the changes for that budget. For county correctional, looks like you're not making any changes after the motor and vehicle equipment. And then the user fees, the marijuana user fees, that shows that there's no change in that either.
That is correct. Okay. Just to make a comment on that again, like I told you a while ago, the quote for brand new police car was $44,000, and it's in the notes what that quote is for that car. Obviously, $30,000 a year for motor vehicle equipment won't even purchase single equipment or single vehicle. And what most sheriffs are doing today is they lease their police vehicles, and that's what we've been doing. It's nothing new. Roger Dillon did when he was the sheriff. In fact, he purchased he leased 4 vehicles this last year that he was sheriff, but then he leased it for 3 years and buy them for $1.10 of that lease. That payment is running us roughly $50,000 a year to lease 4 vehicles. As you can see, there's only $30,000 in that budget, so $20,000 of that money is coming out of my commissary to lease those vehicles and wants to pay for. We lease 4 more vehicles. Then in the meantime, I have been buying vehicles from time to time and paying exclusively for them out of the commissary. So I've been on the phone quite a bit with the insurance agency, and every time we take something offline, we make sure that it comes off the insurance so that we're not insuring cars that we're not driving. And we have tried to go through that list. And again, we still have some vehicles that are as old as 2007 in the fleet, in order to do the ones that we have the jailers driving based on hostility and things. But I would like to, by the end of the year, have all of those older vehicles gone because they're starting to get it to maintenance wise. It's costing too much to keep them around.
Okay, well, thank you for providing all of this information. I think what will be helpful for the council is to have this packet to look through maybe the next couple of days, so that you guys, if you have any more questions about specific line item increases, we can take a look through this packet, see the justification, and then come back to you with questions. So Michelle, have a time slot for you likely to come back for us to ask any questions of you that we might have.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
Like, one question. You said that you're using 4 cars for approximately 50,000 a year.
Yes,
That's the total of 50,000 a year.
yes,
So it's coming in about 17.5 roughly per car.
yes, yes.
And a 3-year lease is right.
3-year lease, correct.
No mileage deduction. So you own the car after.
At the end of 3 years, it's our vehicle, we own it. Yep.
Okay.
And again, I said that's very popular amongst the sheriffs today, because again, they don't have the money in the budget to buy the cars outright, so that's pretty much how everybody's doing it, is leasing vehicles, but you own it at the end of your lease.
At the end of the year, when you're done with the lease, we can probably put the car up for auction if it's not needed.
Correct. Yes, you're welcome.
Anything else from the council? Thank you for putting all of this together.
You're welcome.
Well, I want the council to have the opportunity to look through the packet, and if there are any questions that ask. Okay. Possibly. Third floor.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Yep.
Debbie, are you ready? All right, council, this is on page 55. It'll be on 53, 54, and 55.
I'd like a copy too. Even after the presentation, please.
Just toss out that wasn't going to reference them. All right, Doesn't you want to start with emergency management? Okay. Okay, to start with, I guess, with emergency management, the plans for me, will be to retire at the end of the year. So, and been doing this for 20 plus years, in '09, when they combined these two positions together, it, was a doable position for 2 people. In, 2022, we will reference last year, actually since probably 2020, things seem to be getting more difficult each year and a lot of it has to do with, staffing and where my time is being pulled. And in that position over 911, of course, it takes priority because that chair has to be filled, versus the EMA side. And I know I'm referencing both budgets right now, but, maybe no for both, I need to lay that down. So, And I'm just gonna throw some figures out there as far as staffing. In, 2021, we hired we hired 30. In 2021, we hired 3 new staff in dispatch. In 2021, we lost 4. In 2022, we hired 6. We lost 5. Right now in 2023, we're standing at losing 2 and hiring 2. And it's midway through the year. I hope that that figure just stands as that we don't lose anymore and have to fill that. But literally in 2023, I have been in dispatch 90% of the time, covering open shifts and vacations and sick leaves and that kind of stuff, because our floaters who normally cover that have been in positions also covering full time. And not only myself, but the chief deputy, who I reference, as asking for a salary increase there. It is our duties to do that, to cover that, make sure that chair is full. So, in 2023, as going forward in 2024, I desperately see the need for those 2 positions to be split. It is, my EMA side is getting neglected because, you know, I mean, there's times I work 7 days a week before having a day off. And I try to do the EMA sides, for sure. It's not, I mean, the one color copy there that I gave you, that is the state assessment for us. As the EMA director has to complete that assessment and score so much on it in order to get the 20, or get the 50%, or now in our county, a couple years ago, they did away with the half and half, and you have a certain allotted amount that your county gets back. And so we can get up to $30,000 back on the EMA salary. But, on paper, you know, the last few years, this has been part-time positions on paper in the budget. But as far as job duties, you know, I'm working 2 full-time positions. And then along with that, and this is just throwing it out there because it has to go somewhere, but also my job duties are over the addressing of the county. Courtney at the building department, planning commission has been, I've been teaching her the addressing. She's doing great at it now. She has agreed that to continue doing that. The original, like when they combined this in 09, was $5,000 for that addressing position. Was a lot for addressing. Just throwing that out there from the budget. Looking at our surrounding counties, like I put in for 50,000 because, for both positions, I know I'm in the EMA right now, but 50,000, I have put in that in the EMA budget, for a full-time director, and would highly recommend to consider that for this budget. I know that's putting the council having to put in monies in this budget to accomplish that, but I feel like that is a priority need there. The only other increase in that is because the EMA budget does do the Cradle Point, the internet for the sheriff's department vehicles, and we have increased the number of vehicles that we are putting in, and that's the reason for the increase, the rest of the increase in that.
Okay, and then does he for the Duke's subscription? Does that also fall into that or is that something else?
The subscriptions are just like, if that is because of, I have to pay now for a subscription to the net cloud in order for us to manage, these units. And that's what that is. I'm sorry, I forgot about that increase.
Move on to emergency plan budget.
Yeah, and nothing is changing in the OEPC budget. That is all pretty standard on that one.
911.
Okay, and, we have touched already some on the 911 budget. Brent has touched some on the salary, dispatch is made up of, his budget, the detention budget, and the 911 budget. So I won't go into the salaries or the raises for dispatch because basically he's already covered because we're basically asking for the same thing as far as dispatch. The 50,000 in this budget is a little bit different. I mean, 911 monies, they're very strict, state's very strict on that. Can't go out to other budgets. I mean, it's to stay in its own budget. Fortunately, we have enough monies in this budget to compensate for, I believe, the increase of the full-time salary director in this budget because, my benefits have always been taken out of this budget. So there wouldn't be any increases in that, adding monies into that. And I have just, shuffled some monies around to compensate for that full-time position that, I believe this budget can, sustain that.
Helpful. Council, any questions for Josie? Let's say you're a rock star. You've been having 2 full-time positions for however long now, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. And thank you so much for doing that. Council, anything you want to talk about? Any comments so far?
If I add one more thing.
Sure.
I think you do have that on the paper that I gave you with the salary, but there is only 7, we are one of 7 counties that do have the combined job. Where there's only 7 counties that have that combined.
All right, council, we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break.